Bringing in the slow vibes. You are not rocking with Nebulous Miyagi, which you can call me Rafiki.
No further introduction is needed. I have been studying for some years now. I want to bring you a compilation of documents and books from my own wisdom. I do have a disclaimer. I have been having surgery done to my mouth, so I might have a lisp or may stutter over a couple of words. So just bear with me. So today I want to read from a few books, like I said, of course, but mainly I want to get into a book called The Secret Art, A Brief History of Radionic Technology for the Creative Individual by Duncan Laurie. But first, let's get into what I have presented in front of you. This is from the Keys of Enoch, which is key 213, 21 through 23. It reads, "But first I saw how the final witness was given to the ministry of the children, who are the collective Messiah, dwelling with man until the heavenly Messiah descends. In the days of that Adonai summons you, testify to the nations of the earth so that the wisdom of the earth may be broken, and that in its three-dimensional consciousness reign no more with your spirit. You who behold the wisdom of God are the guides and the stepping stones for the whole earth." So what is the secret art? This is the history of radionics. It's the story of how various inventors designed devices that employ directed intent to affect the real world. With these tools, they promoted healing without pills or surgery, grew crops without fertilizer, restrained insect predation without pesticides, and perform a host of other seemingly impossible feats that define mechanistic science. The secret art traces this astonishing process, beginning with early art designs suggestive of radionic intent. For many prehistoric and indigenous peoples, art was also a means of interacting with nature to enhance healing, increase crop yields, and enable visionary experiences. Coincidentally, radionic inventors discovered by trial and error that even drawings and bizarre technology could function radionically. This discovery followed a long process of design innovation that started with mechanical devices, proceeded through a generation of electronic instruments, and most recently has been applied to computer and software technology. Conceivably, the theory and techniques outlined in this book could provide artists with a revolutionary approach to the creative process that is at once both new and timeless. A potential exists today for radionic ideas to empower creative individuals to develop skills in working with nature that achieve profound real-world results. All right, let's read. We're not going to get into too much into the book today. I just want to get into the introduction. It's very powerful, but very simple. So I'm just going to be reading from page 1 and page 2. So here we go. Having worked as an artist most of my adult life, I became aware early on that there were fundamentally different approaches to making art. Some art forms are bought and sold like commodities. Other art is deemed priceless and resides in museums. Music and film compete as entertainment venues, and massive sculptural commissions provide ornamentation for architecture in parks. Sorry. These familiar forms are only the surface of the art we know and enjoy. Behind the business and institutional world of art, other creative individuals struggle to know themselves through deep introspection, often at the expense of acclaim or financial reward, only seeking to project meaning and inspiration into the culture through their work. There is even a more remote type of creativity that is all but forgotten by the contemporary art world: the ability that ancient and indigenous artists had to interact with nature and spirit to heal, promote agriculture, and articulate the sacred dimension of life. To accomplish these tasks, the artist slash shaman had to be able to understand and tap into natural forces. This process requires a unique capacity of consciousness, one able to manipulate energy and matter towards a desired end. Today, we call this capacity directed intent. We understand how directed intent can be used to control machinery, computers, systems, and organizations, but we do not understand much about how it can be used by our consciousness to mitigate the progression of a disease or the growth rate of a crop or a host of other activities that fall under the rubric of shamanic processes. The shamanic process required artistic embellishment through dance, fetish making, costuming, and ceremony. What is not so well understood is the energetic components that the shamanic rituals sought to influence. Today, we tend to look at the shamanic process in the same light as religious ceremony, as an elaborate metaphor for appealing to a higher power to intercede on our behalf. By contrast, as we will examine throughout this book, it is far more likely that shamanic individuals use artistic and technical methodologies, employing intent to move energy and accomplish their objectives. We can only guess how the various ancient peoples accomplished shamanic tasks, but we can look at our technical slash industrial society and see if within our own explorations we may have uncovered similar techniques or approaches. In fact, a robust process of creative adaptation employing both art and technology, coupled with applied intent, does appear on the radar of modern developments. It goes by different names: occult technologies, I cannot say that word, radiothesia, dowsing, psychotronics, and radionics, to name a few. For our purposes, we will use radionics as a catch-all phrase for any art slash technology system that employs consciousness through tools or art to move energy and do work. We will implore the reader to suspend judgment on their viability, despite the fact that modern intellectuals consider these techniques non-scientific and spurious. What also must be considered is that little is known about what consciousness actually is and how it functions. Empirical science has not given us the answers to fundamental questions like who we are, where we come from, what happens after death, or why some people spontaneously recover from a disease while others die. There are far too many unknowns when it comes to the power and potential of consciousness and directed intent in nature to discard the potential opportunities just because they are not understood or condoned by science. This book will review tools and techniques that have been swept under the rug by mechanistic and deterministic worldview. We will briefly look at the history of these tools and techniques with the notion of adding them to those already available to the creative process. My objective is to set forth and explain radionic technology as a platform for understanding and artistically working with nature in a novel and creative way. There have been numerous problems in writing this book, for one which is the technical component of the discussion that doesn't square with orthodox science. There's also a very long and complex history of individuals working in the area of what is referred to as subtle energy technology. Many valid contributions to understanding subtle energy and the tools that influence it are regrettably omitted. I have reduced the field mainly to a study of what is called radionics. What follows is a historical definition of radionics as it is used for our purposes. The basic assumption of radionics can be stated as three parts. 1. All matter emits radiations. 2. The human body can be used to detect them. 3. The mind can influence these radiations in extraordinary ways. We are taught by our materialistic sciences that disciplines like radionics are both simplistic and impossible. To help overcome skepticism and to support and enhance our understanding of radionics, selective historical, technical, and procedural details are presented in a convincing but simplified manner. This task also involves translating antiquated or cryptic terminology into modern coherent language. The story of how mind-based devices have been evolving like a lingering shadow for the last 100 years in parallel with our familiar electromagnetic technology is fascinating. Reading about it, however, demands a degree of suspended disbelief from even the most generous reader. We're going to end there with the actual book today of Radionics. I also do want to read you the law of resonance as it pertains to radionics as well. It states the law of resonance is a principle that is fundamental, which asserts the power of vibrational frequencies in shaping our reality, meaning that all matter showing synchronized vibrations possess a basic level of consciousness that amplifies through complex interactions and information exchanges. And coming from the Bible, two quick verses to establish a matter. You need at least 2 or 3 witnesses. So I'm just going to give you a couple more witnesses. We're going to go to John 1, verse 1. It says, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." And Genesis 1:1, "In the beginning God created the heaven and the earth." So even God, the Almighty Creator, was able to use subtle energy in its creation with consciousness and affect matter on a massive scale to the microscopic scale. So that's where I am employing my research and my studies that I'm going to be bringing forth to you. I hope you enjoy this. I'll be bringing more to you soon. Thanks.